Salutations, Utopians. The Monday after the storm. The cool after the storm is what I'm trying to say. Um, lot of football action on Sunday. I want to get right to it because there's one game that really stood out to me, and it was the defining factor. First and foremost, there was a plethora of injuries in Detroit, and so NFC was up for grabs on Sunday. Detroit playing Buffalo. We all know that they're in that exclusive class, Buffalo, that is of AFC teams that are potential threats to the Kansas City Chiefs to not only make it out the AFC but to win a championship. I do think obviously not obviously, but I do think that the AFC is a far more superior conference, all in all. With that being said, uh, and then the Philly had a big time matchup with a team who looked to be another team that was a threat to Buffalo and Kansas City, Pittsburgh, and so a lot was unpacked. But before you can even talk about on the field, Detroit, who I had as a legit threat to win the Super Bowl, the most well-rounded, decorated roster in the NFL, has been marred by completely just. I mean, at this point, it's not called an injury list; it's called the Great Exodus. Hell, that's an extinction list. You know, them Lions are out of here. You know what I mean? By the day, I don't know if there's enough talent out there who play football to make up for this loss, for the amount of losses. Today, Dave Montgomery, part 1A to 1B, RB1 in Detroit, now announced to be potentially out for the remainder of the season. Ali McNeil, Pro Bowl nose tackle, out for the remainder of the year. Then their prized free agent cornerback who plays slot, Carlton Davis, over there from Tampa Bay, out of there for the season. Now, mind you, the best pass rusher in football who puts their knuckles in the dirt, Aiden Hutchinson, is also now being ruled out until at least the Super Bowl, if they can get there. I think the Lions are going to have a first round bye. Tonight's a big game. Minnesota versus Chicago is huge. Green Bay got to win. Detroit lost. Minnesota is also a 12-win team, I believe, or on their way to that. And they're playing the Bears. The Bears do have a stingy defense. New coach. They do look a little bit different now with their interim head coach. But all in all, forgive me for not saying his name up front. I see his face. I can't remember his name. Bears are fresh off of terminating their offensive coordinator and then going after their head coach. So anything's possible tonight. That's a must watch. The Steelers in Philadelphia. Here's the problem. With George Pickens not being there, one thing. Then T.J. Watt getting injured early in the game, ultimately, subsequently leading towards a 39-20 time of possession. The differential being just about equivalent to how much the Steelers had the ball is ridiculous. You know, that's pure utter domination, choking them out practically. I don't I don't necessarily have too much to say about Pittsburgh besides I tip my hat off to them and I respect them. When you lose key players at key positions, especially your two captains, it doesn't really move me too much. Once when you lose, they lost by 2 touchdowns. I don't think you can take too much. I actually got more respect for Pittsburgh after that loss. I've been very skeptical of them, but they made it respectable. They kept it in respectable distance, only losing by 2 touchdowns. You lose T.J. Watt, you lose 80% of your defense. It's like losing your number one bucket getter. I hate making cross-sport references, but you're losing a big chunk of your defense and your computer chip. You take the computer chip out, and you're operating a lot slower and more confused out there. So kudos to the Steelers and Mike Tomlin. With Philadelphia, on the other hand, I still don't feel like I have any understanding of them. Yes, first thing Field says in the press conference, all right, so what do you got to say now? Like, bro, you guys won by 2 touchdowns against the lowly Steelers, who are really no threat offensively to really do anything to you. And then I'm looking at tape online, and I'm seeing there was a lot of misreads. And here's the thing. If you're Philly, Dallas, certain franchises, especially that, like Dallas because they grab the headlines, Philly because you are always in the discussion of the top players in the NFL. The collapse that you're seeing in San Francisco right now with the Bay, the 49ers, them trying to follow the blueprint Howie Roseman did. And they played a game they couldn't afford to play because they don't have any depth. Howie Roseman can draft and he can go out and make trades. John Lynch made a lot of trades, but he don't have a lot of depth. So that's where the mistake is made, you know. And they took Martin Mayhew over there to Washington to go join the new GM, the co-GM who was over there with Lynch. And, you know, it's no coincidence where they are right now, unwatchable. A lot of it has to do with injuries, but still. And now you're looking over there at in Philly, and they got a player for every problem, or they did until Kelsey went down. Retired, and you're just seeing Hurts make certain reads that's like you're choosing the more difficult pass. There's guys who are blatantly open, and you realize like where there's smoke, there's fire. A.J. Brown is nervous. Every time you go throughout history, a T.O., a Odell, they know, they're like, yeah, we're good, but I'm trying to save us from heartbreak. I'm trying to save us from disappointment because there's a certain standard. You know, when Odell had that rift with the Giants and, you know, Eli was at the end of his campaign and they had Saquon, it's like, we're underachieving. I still don't feel like we're clicking on all cylinders, though something doesn't feel right. I would rather bring everything out to the forefront than to sit up here and act like everything's cool and then act surprised when it matters the most in the postseason. Oh no, look, we're not ready. And we never confronted each other. So it's like, what's going on? You know, everyone's all shocked, like, oh, this is awkward. It's like, no, let's get this out there now. Who cares about how uncomfortable the conversation is? And I'm going to tell you why I think Philadelphia, the thing I do like about Philadelphia, there's a viral clip right now of Sirianni going to the sideline to confront Jalen Carter and having to be restrained. And then they turn around and they go out there and they're you know, on a critical, I think, third down, he gets a penalty for something that has to do with discipline, which is why Carter in the first place fell. He's a first overall pick talent, but he slid because of his behavior. Fortunately, the Eagles have a lot of Georgia players to help him feel comfortable and feel at home, but Georgia University and Bulldogs, and so they felt comfortable taking the risk, but he's still making mistakes that got him plagued out of good money with his draft status. And so it really makes them upset because, you know, hey, we took a risk on you and you're still having these type of problems that have been your label. When do you grow? When do you evolve? You're still being controlled by your emotions. And so what I love about it is they represent a team that's like a dysfunctional family almost, where they confront each other, they do all these things, but they still don't let it blur the vision and they go out and win. I don't know what to make of it, but the humility, I like it. You know what I mean? They're not trying to look perfect. They're not trying to be perfect. They go out there, they get their rocks off, and they go do their job. And, you know, we need to see more of that. They represent what the world should be like. People disagreeing, think about the stuff that has plagued this world lately, you know, especially in America, you know, vaccinated, not vaccinated. Are you red or are you blue? Republican, Democrat. You know, rich, poor, all these things that keep us separated. And they're setting a great example of like being able to disagree and just very old school mentality. You know, you and your friends get into an argument, you might even fight, but you cool back by the evening time to get, you know, to play video games, watch sports, order a pizza, get some blockbusters, things like that. This is not, you know, this is what I like about the Eagles. But, you know, if you're going to beat a team like Kansas City, who definitely, you know, even though Mahomes is pretty banged up right now, he had a scary ankle injury over the weekend. If you're going to beat the Chiefs, you got to understand, you don't exploit them. They give you certain opportunities in the game, and you better identify it. But you're not going to create nothing on them. You can't out scheme them. They're going to have to give something up because they're too a team that is very slimmed down right now in certain areas, and so they're going to be a team that you have to be able to see. oh, that's what they're going to give us. That's what they're going to give us to compensate for this. And Jalen Hurts this weekend, one thing I didn't like in that Pittsburgh game, there was a lot of plays where he didn't take the easy thing. He didn't make the easy read. He made the difficult read, and and it's just like, what are you seeing out there? What do you got going on? You have to make sure your quarterback psyche is do your job, because the last great quarterback who was in my top 10 all time, Donovan McNabb, when he started being concerned with being labeled a running quarterback and he started trying to force passes when he was best, when he led with his shoes and then said, okay, you want to take the you want to keep a spy down there? No problem. I'll pick you apart now on the one-on-one. I'll take my chances against any secondary to put that ball where it needs to go. He had the clutch factor. He had the arm strength. He had the mental toughness. So it was just simply, pick your poison with McNabb. But when he started letting it, and you see this in sports, Vince Carter, the same thing. Oh, I don't want to dunk anymore. I'm going to go out there and prove with my jumper. You do what makes you money. Imagine if Shaq allowed people to, all he does is dunk. That's how big this is of a deal. Because Philadelphia is in that, again, I hate the cross sports references, but Philadelphia is like the Boston Celtics. You're getting in that territory now. It's like, who's going to coach them to a ring? They need it, and it's getting that clock is ticking, and I know Hurt Fields was done a little foul from the previous regime in Peterson, but it's like, okay, you're here now, you got your money, you've been equipped with all the assets you need. How he's more than paid back tenfold whatever it is that happened. Now it's and I know he's not claiming any complaints about it. He's been nothing but the utmost. He's a definition in the dictionary professional, But I'm just saying, if they're going to if they are going to get to that championship, I still need to see better from Fields. I'm not seeing the reads being made correctly out there right now. There's some stuff in the heat. I'm not trying to be an armchair quarterback. It's just certain blatant reads where it's like, it's just right there. Just make that pass, And so, I don't know. I still think Kansas City's a little too much for him. Anything's possible, though. Nothing I'm saying is law, obviously. But I'm just saying, in the big picture, they need more from Fields still. I'm still not impressed. I'm still shaky and nervous about him. All right, Utopians, I'll try to do better next time. Global, out.